Hello and welcome to this studio recorded version of the CPD session around creating a confident teacher. My name is Elena Bennett and I work in the provider development team at NCFE. So my role is to support centres through planning, onboarding and CPD processes for NCFE qualifications. Previously to this role, I worked as a curriculum lead for English and Maths in an FE college and have delivered teacher training programmes. So the aim of this session is to explore techniques and strategies in creating a confident teacher, and also to reflect on how communication skills can be effective in achieving this. The content of the session will include discussions around what teacher confidence might mean to you, what are the qualities of a confident teacher, an opportunity to self-reflect and identify some strengths and areas for development, and some practical strategies that you can take forward into your practice. So firstly, we'll consider, what does teacher confidence mean to you? So before we start, I'd like you to consider how confident you think you are in terms of your teaching. So 10 being extremely confident down to 1 being not confident at all. I'd also like you to think about something really positive or useful that you've done in your teaching this year. So during the live session, we did this on Padlet in a sandbox. So the next slide, I'll share some of the ideas that the participants in the session came up with. So this is a screenshot of the activity from the live session where colleagues were asked to think of something positive or useful that they'd achieved this year in their teaching. So you can see there's quite a few nice ideas there, particularly with supporting students in their own confidence, in particular learners with emotional issues or those who struggle with English. So it was really nice to have a discussion around that and, to start off on a nice positive note. So now I'd like you to take a little bit of time to consider what teacher confidence means to you. So firstly, can you come up with a time where you felt really confident in your teaching, and what do you think made you feel that way? Also, maybe you have an example you can think of where you really didn't feel confident, and there may be some reasons around this, so try to think about, why that might have occurred. So I would pause the recording here so you can have a few minutes to think about this. So now you've had a chance to think about some examples of where you have felt confident or unconfident in your teaching. We're now going to look at some qualities that confident teachers may display and do some self-reflection against these. Okay, so if you'd like to take a look at these 12 different qualities of a confident teacher, I'd like you to take a few minutes to think about which of those qualities do you think are the most important to you? And also, why do you think these qualities are important for developing teacher confidence? And if possible, can you think about how could you build this quality into your own practice, and what potential challenges might make this quality difficult to develop? So if you pause the recording and give yourself an opportunity to think through those. Okay, so now it's self-reflection time. So the 12 qualities from the previous slide are listed here. I would like you to think about which of those 12 qualities do you feel like you already demonstrate, and which ones would you like to improve on. And you can make some notes there if you'd like to, just around why you think you demonstrated, or like why do you think that it's important for you to improve on those. So now you've had a chance to self-reflect against those qualities of a confident teacher. We're now going to have a look at some practical strategies that you could incorporate into your practice to improve in the areas that you've identified. So first of all, we're going to spend a few minutes looking specifically at communication skills within the classroom. Effective communication is essential, with successful teaching often viewed as relying equally on knowledge and communication skills. And for English teachers, this is particularly important as you're always promoting and developing communication skills with your learners. So therefore, teachers must be proficient in all 4 communication modes: listening, speaking, reading and writing, and being able to apply these skills effectively in the classroom. Mastering this ability will not only influence students' academic success, but should also play a crucial role in developing your own confidence as a teacher. So here are some tips to enhance your communication as a teacher. So first one is active listening. So remember to give your full attention to the speaker, avoid interrupting them, and summarise or paraphrase what they've said to demonstrate understanding. And this will help build trust and ensure that you do fully understand the needs or concerns of your learners or colleagues. It also helps promote your learners with their own speaking and listening activities. Clarity and simplicity. Always use clear, concise language and avoid jargon. It's useful to break down complex ideas into smaller, digestible parts. This will help to ensure that your message is understood by students of varying abilities, and it will also help learners understand how they can break down instructions in their own work. Non-verbal communication. So make sure you pay attention to your own body language, facial expressions, and your tone of voice. And remember to maintain eye contact and use gestures to emphasise points. This will really enhance your verbal messages and help convey enthusiasm and authority. And again, it will help learners to understand the impact of their own body language in speaking and listening or discussion tasks. Empathy and understanding. Acknowledging the emotions and perspectives of your students or colleagues can really help create a supportive environment and strengthen relationships. It can help learners feel safe to engage with English, a subject they may have already experienced failure in. Adaptability. Remember to tailor your communication approach to suit different audience, for example, younger students versus adults. This will help by ensuring that your message is appropriate and effective for different contexts. Next, we have questioning techniques. So use open-ended questions to encourage discussion and critical thinking, but also use closed questions to check understanding. This will help to promote engagement and ensure comprehension. It also helps learners develop how they would ask questions to each other, particularly when doing speaking and listening assessments. The use of technology. It's useful to incorporate multimedia tools, for example, videos or slides, to reinforce verbal communication. It can help your communication to be more dynamic and help to cater to different learning styles. This can also help learners when they're creating their own presentations. And finally, model good communication. So demonstrate the communication skills you want your students to develop, for example, polite language, clear articulation. This will really help set a positive example and reinforce the importance of effective communication. Now we'll start to look at some practical strategies to help improve teacher confidence. So to start with, we're going to look at two different scenarios, and I'd like you to consider what strategies you could suggest if this was one of your colleagues and you were hoping to help them to develop in confidence. So the first strategy relates to somebody struggling with classroom management. They're feeling overwhelmed by managing student behaviour and are struggling to enforce the rules. The second scenario is a colleague who is nervous about delivering challenging subject content, so they lack confidence in their own subject knowledge and in delivering something a little bit difficult. They also avoid being observed, even by peers, fearing that this criticism will highlight their insecurities. So pause the video here and have a few minutes to think about what advice you might give these two colleagues. Okay, so here are my suggested strategies from the scenarios on the previous slide. So you can have a look and see how they align with your ideas. So the first scenario was the colleague who was struggling to manage behaviour in the classroom. So it might be useful for them to seek support from a mentor, somebody who can come in and observe them teaching and help to advise around classroom management techniques. Also, participating in professional development workshops around classroom management could be really useful. It's very important to implement clear rules and consistent consequences within your classroom, making sure these are communicated to students early on, right from the beginning. It's also a good tip to involve students in writing their own set of classroom expectations and rules. That might help them take a little bit more ownership of them and be more likely to stick to them. And make sure that you do reflect after each lesson to identify what worked and what didn't, and adjust your strategies as needed, because every group of students, in fact every student, will respond differently. The last one there, watch how other teachers manage behaviour. A lot of teachers don't get an opportunity to observe other teachers, so trying to make some time for that is really helpful, even if it's only 10 or 15 minutes to go into somebody else's classroom and just see what they do and how effectively they manage behaviour. Then scenario 2, the colleague who was nervous about delivering challenging subject content. So in this case, it would be really important to plan the lesson thoroughly, especially breaking the more complex content down into smaller manageable chunks. This will help the colleague with their own confidence, but it'll also help clarity of instructions to the learners as well. It's useful also to employ some varied teaching methods, for example, using visual or practical activities to help get more complex ideas across to the students. Rehearse the lessons beforehand if needed. This can help with confidence even if you just had a practice at home or in front of a peer in the staff room, just to make sure that you do know how you're going to deliver it. Encourage questions. Using peer discussions for students to help each other is really, really useful in the classroom. Some students will find topics more accessible than others, and the students can learn from each other. And make sure you reframe feedback as an opportunity for growth. So this colleague was reluctant to have any observations or peer observations, and it's important to think of it as an opportunity rather than a criticism. You could potentially start with low stakes observations, for example, inviting a trusted colleague in to just observe one agreed aspect of a lesson. For example, you might want them to just look at how you ask questions. And come in for 10 or 15 minutes. So it's low stakes, and once that becomes normal, the confidence should increase. And again, very, very useful to participate in observations of other colleagues. Like I said previously, it's not often teachers have the opportunity to do that, and you can learn a lot from being able to see other people teaching. Now we're going to revisit the 12 qualities of a confident teacher and consider some strategies that could help you to develop each skill within your teaching. So use your self-reflection sheet from earlier as I go through these qualities so you can identify which might be useful or beneficial to you in your future practice. So firstly, strong subject knowledge. A confident teacher has a thorough understanding of the content they teach. They're prepared to answer questions, explain concepts from multiple angles, and connect the material to real-world examples. When teachers feel knowledgeable, they project authority, which reassures students and fosters trust. So a useful tip here is to stay updated with new developments in your subject area to ensure that you maintain expertise and confidence. Preparation and planning. Confidence comes from being well prepared with lesson plans, materials and strategies. A teacher who anticipates challenges, such as varying student needs or disruptions, can adjust smoothly when plans change. And being organised helps eliminate last-minute stress, boosting classroom performance. So a useful tip here is to create a backup plan for lessons in case things don't go as expected, and this will give you peace of mind. And even if this is just a couple of additional activities that you have in your back pocket, so if something else doesn't go as planned in the lesson, you have something else that you can easily pull out. Effective classroom management. So confident teachers establish clear routines, boundaries and expectations early on in the academic year. They address behaviour issues calmly and fairly, and this should maintain respect and order in the classroom. So the tip here is to use positive reinforcement to promote good behaviour and have consistent rules that students understand and respect. As said before, it's useful to involve the students themselves in creating these rules. Strong communication skills. So as we've already discussed, a confident teacher communicates clearly and effectively, both with students and colleagues. They listen actively, ask open-ended questions, and adjust their communication style to fit different situations. They also encourage open dialogue in the classroom, making students feel heard and valued. So a tip is to practice both verbal and non-verbal communication, such as maintaining eye contact and using gestures to emphasise key points. It could be useful to ask a peer to come and watch you and focus particularly on how you use your non-verbal communication in the classroom. Flexibility and adaptability. So a confident teacher knows that not everything goes to plan and they're comfortable adjusting in the moment. They can adapt their teaching style to fit the needs of diverse learners and unexpected situations. Flexibility allows you to try new methods without fear of failure, understanding and knowing that mistakes are part of learning. So the tip here is to embrace challenges as learning opportunities rather than setbacks and encourage students to do the same. And it'll allow both teacher and students to take risks and feel safe in the environment. And now we move on to emotional resilience. So confidence is tied to emotional well-being. Teachers who manage stress effectively perform better in the classroom. They don't take setbacks personally and they can know how to recover quickly from difficult days or situations. And remaining calm under pressure is really important to help students feel stable and secure. So a tip would be to practice mindfulness or relaxation techniques to stay calm and grounded during stressful moments. A lifelong learning attitude. Confident teachers see themselves as learners, open to feedback and continuous improvement. They seek out professional development opportunities to enhance their skills and knowledge. And this growth mindset helps them approach challenges with curiosity and confidence. So a tip could be to set personal goals for growth, such as mastering new teaching strategies or attending workshops to boost your sense of competence. And next we have positive relationships with students. So building trust and rapport with your students boosts a teacher's confidence by creating a respectful and supportive classroom environment. When students are engaged and connected, the teacher feels more in control and effective. And also, positive relationships with students make it easier to manage classroom dynamics and encourage participation. So get to know your students individually, acknowledging their strengths and their interests to foster trust. And once you know their interests, you can also adapt the lessons that you teach to suit the interests, and this will also help to increase engagement. Willingness to take risks and make mistakes. So a confident teacher understands that making mistakes is part of the teaching journey, and they're not afraid to experiment with new teaching methods or strategies, even if some attempts fail. They'll model for students how to learn from failure as well, demonstrating that growth comes from perseverance. So make sure you celebrate small successes, even if the outcome isn't perfect, and reflect on what you learned from each experience. Self-awareness and reflection. So confident teachers regularly reflect on their practices, identifying areas of success and opportunities for growth. They know their strengths and are aware of areas where they need improvement. Reflection helps to build insight, which strengthens your teaching and decision-making abilities. So a tip here would be to maintain a teaching journal to track your experiences, insights and areas for growth. This could just be a quick note in a teacher planner after a lesson to say what went well or what didn't. And going back to that when you're teaching a similar lesson again will really help to improve your practice. Then we've got collaboration and support seeking behaviours. So confident teachers recognise that they shouldn't have to work in isolation. They seek advice from colleagues, participate in team planning and share ideas openly. And collaboration should help you feel supported while enhancing confidence in challenging situations. So a tip would be to join professional learning communities or mentoring programs to exchange ideas and gain support. And make sure you work with teachers in your own organisation where possible to share ideas around planning and delivery. And last of all, we have passion and enthusiasm. So confidence grows from a genuine passion for teaching and enthusiasm for the subject matter. Passionate teachers can engage students more effectively and inspire curiosity. And enthusiasm is contagious. It fosters excitement for learning and it gives teachers a sense of purpose. So a tip is reflect on what initially drew you to teaching and tap into that motivation when you face challenges. So going through those teacher qualities on the previous two slides should have given you an opportunity to look at your self-reflection sheets and to identify some areas where you can use the tips and strategies discussed to improve your future practice. So have a little think about now for one particular strategy you'll incorporate into your future practice as a result. And also, it might be useful to revisit the poll at the beginning of the session just to think whether or not your teaching confidence has increased as a result of any of the ideas from the session today. And finally, here's the link to the NCFE qualifications page where you can find what events are available for booking onto and what other support we are able to offer you in your functional skills delivery. And on this side, you should find all of the contact information you would need for functional skills support. Thank you so much for listening in to today's session. I hope you found it useful.